Thank you so much. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Too many times to count, I have felt the free fall of my car plunging towards a body of water, splashing with a crash as I search for an escape, striving to save a passenger, often my mom. I would wake up sweating, out of breath, from swimming towards the shore, passenger in tow. That dream always started the same way. I'd be driving across a bridge like normal, when all of a sudden, a tugboat, or a whale, or a tidal wave, or a plane would crash into it, sending us all collapsing. At the time these dreams started, I was a freshman at Hampton University, my beautiful, historically black home by the sea, surrounded on three sides by water. And guess what that meant? Taking a bridge or a tunnel to just about any neighboring city. So as someone who wasn't the strongest swimmer, that was about the most terrifying thought possible. I had gotten there on an academic scholarship to major in broadcast journalism with a minor in Spanish and dreams to become an entertainment reporter. I saw the glitz and glamour of the red carpets and thought I wanted to share the stories of the stars, the spotlight on myself. My earliest memory is of sitting on AstroTurf, spinning giant letter blocks. I was on the set of The Wheel of Fortune, where my mom was a technical director. She would push colorful buttons to cue up all the different camera angles. My favorite view, Vanna White, dazzling with every glide across the screen, so elegant, new dress for every new set of guests and guesses. At the same time, my dad was a photographer for CBS News, traveling the world, covering all the major events from the Tiananmen Square massacre to the Berlin Wall demolition to the '89 San Francisco earthquake, all while capturing beautiful conversations for Sunday Morning in 60 Minutes. Then my mom went on to work for the Oprah Winfrey Show. And my dad moved me back to his hometown of Atlanta to be a journalism professor at his alma mater, Clark Atlanta University, where he got more than 1,000 black students high-paying jobs in the industry through the Olympics and beyond. That sense of service sparked something in me. And then I watched my mom shift from control rooms to controlling house rebuilding projects in her home state of Louisiana after Hurricane Katrina. You see, my mom's rural Cajun family, you can find my uncles and cousins playing Zydeco music on fiddles and accordions next to crawfish farms, aunts riding horses and growing gorgeous gardens, far cry from my dad's deep Atlanta roots that helped break race barriers. And when he married my second mother, who helped raise me, her family of architects showed me how they could achieve social justice through infrastructure, building sustainable modular housing, public pools and libraries, all the way up to Olympic venues and the Atlanta airport. And then I learned core life lessons from the First Tee golf program, like perseverance, integrity, sportsmanship. My coaches there taught me to have pride and excel in arenas where women and minority players weren't always welcome. My friends and I went on to win 3 Georgia State championships for our high school. And then my dad followed me to Hampton, where he became a journalism professor and the head golf coach while I studied broadcast and was the captain of the women's team. We were a dynamic duo until he had his first stroke that first year. It was mild. He recovered. And he ended up living in an apartment followed by his love of sushi above his favorite restaurant in town, owned by a Korean couple who introduced him to Nichiren Buddhism. And when I got home from my summer vacation, where I was working an internship, he was so excited to take me to my first meeting. not knowing it was less than a month after I had been drugged and raped by a friend's boyfriend. He didn't find out for 10 years. But when I walked into that environment, I heard the unfamiliar chant of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, but it resonated in me. And I was welcomed into this multicultural community of people who embraced every obstacle, every challenge they faced, from car crashes to cancer, with a sense of devotion to promoting peace, starting within ourselves. And so, after graduation, when I found myself on the red carpet of the roast of Charlie Sheen, I realized something was missing from my dream. You see, I had rushed to LA as quickly as I could after college to make a name for myself and achieve just what my parents had. But after a year of being an assistant and an English tutor, I realized my path needed to take a detour. So my first local reporting job was in Columbus, Georgia, comfortably an hour and a half south of Atlanta, close to home, not too far away. Through my time there, in Pueblo, Colorado, then Oklahoma City, I saw how my work could have an impact, sharing comprehensive new services for domestic violence survivors that would allow them to finally leave their abuser. The art program for teens vulnerable to gang recruitment taught them how to make murals instead of graffiti. The holistic services for the unhoused population to help them start a new chapter in their life. Sharing that information allowed people to gain access to things they didn't even know about. And I launched a successful series to highlight all the issues impacting minority communities, including the good, that people had no idea were happening in their own backyard. And that made human connections between all different demographics of our audience. So in 2019, that led me back home to Atlanta, Georgia, to work for CBS News, same company that had given my parents their life-changing opportunities. I took a job behind the camera, learning everything I could from all the seasoned veterans in the business, seeing how they did things. And less than 6 months later, a global pandemic struck. And all those big New York names couldn't travel anymore. And I was the closest available correspondent to cover every major disaster: hurricanes, tornadoes, deadly floods. I interviewed COVID patients in ICUs. But throughout the devastation, I found inspiration. Like in Louisiana, the couple who learned how to crush wine bottles to create sparkling yard mulch, solving recycling and erosion problems in their own community. The man who quit his mainstream marketing job to take Black folks camping across the country to destigmatize the great outdoors. One Black family at a time, breaking generational trauma stemming from slavery. I was the only person to interview the man who was building a house when Ahmaud Arbery took his fateful jog before he was chased and gunned down by white neighbors. The homeowner was kind and heartbroken, complete opposite from the man who filmed and participated in the murder, who wouldn't open his mouth to speak to me and my Black crew when we showed up for his first lawyer-arranged interview before he was arrested a few days later for murder and hate crime. But these two South Georgia men on the outside wouldn't seem so different, yet they shared vastly different perspectives. So if they can be so far apart, what about somebody from another ethnicity, education, upbringing? What does it take to bridge that gap? Understanding versus fear. I think more than a fear of failure, a lot of people have a fear of success. What happens when you actually live your best on a path with purpose and passion? The late Buddhist leader Daisaku Ikeda had a great metaphor. He said, when a boat takes off on a long journey, It's bound to hit fierce storms, powerful waves, but it has to weather those storms to reach the harbor of its destination. My favorite Buddhist lesson is to have faith not like ephemeral fire burning bright and fast, but like water, always moving forward with determination, never regressing. So, when I got a speeding ticket, rushing to help my dad, disabled now after 4 strokes, I was assigned a defensive driving course. Turned out to be a black woman therapist, a connection I had been seeking for several years. And she said, I'll take you on as long as you need it, and sign off on the paperwork when we're done. So I told her about my recurring nightmare, and she encouraged me, keep swimming, see what happens. See if it's not as scary as it might seem. Next time my car hit that water, I sprang into action with determination and a plan to survive and thrive. I made it to the other side. So did my mom. I haven't had that dream since. And every time I cross a bridge, I know several methods of escape, just in case. Stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. And that brought me here to Harlem, New York, where I became CBS's first dedicated community multi-skilled journalist. No one had ever covered this community to show the positive. They showed up when there was a fire or a shooting. But I was the first person to highlight this historic Victoria Theater space as it took shape, developing a relationship with the Apollo, all while putting pressure on local officials to get broken boilers fixed for people whose voices weren't being heard, and showing the institutions that help keep Black history alive when the curriculum is being cut in classrooms across the country, like Mother AME Zion, the oldest standing Black church in the state. Children's Art Carnival, connecting neighborhood kids to hands-on lessons with artists in residence. And of course, the Arturo Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture, celebrating its centennial. Outside, We Act for Environmental Justice installs air quality monitors to keep people informed of the air they're breathing when nobody else will. Harlem Sculpture Gardens conducts soil erosion research while installing Upper Manhattan's largest outdoor art project ever. And Harlem Grown, building shipping container farms to feed seniors while teaching neighborhood kids how to cultivate a cornucopia of fruits and vegetables they love to eat. All these people saw a need and met it with their own expertise. A bridge for skills, understanding, love. I no longer dream of bridges, I am the bridge. And here we are, on an island only accessible by bridge, tunnel, or boat. But I challenge you all to find a way to be a bridge in your community, because it is my honor to highlight the revitalization of the Harlem Renaissance as an inspiration for everyone to show that through every adversity, you can achieve anything through faith and your belief that you are excellent. Show the world your excellence too. Thank you.